Moving to the United States, protesters there have rallied in cities across the country on Tuesday demanding abortion rights be protected after the leak of a draft Supreme Court opinion that would overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v Wade decision that protected and upheld abortion rights. On the other side, anti-abortion activists across the country are celebrating. In the draft opinion, a document which is leaked to the media, a Supreme Court judge wrote that the Roe v Wade ruling legalizing abortion was wrong from the start and that the US Constitution does not prohibit the citizens of each state from regulating or prohibiting abortion.
In cities across the United States, thousands took to the streets on Tuesday to demand abortion rights, a day after the leak of a draft Supreme Court opinion that would overturn Roe v Wade. The landmark ruling in 1973 legalized abortion nationwide. Outside the court's building, there was shock and rage from protesters.
It makes me sick. The idea that our rights as women, as uterus owners, can be taken away, that they can deny us rights over our bodies, it makes me shake to my core.
I don't think any of us thought that 50 years of precedent on Roe v. Wade could just be tossed out at the flick of a fingernail.
Some campaigners carried coat hangers, a grim reference to the back alley abortions that experts say could become common again. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren appeared to tell the crowd that she would fight back.
I am angry because an extremist United States Supreme Court thinks that they can impose their extremist views on all of the women of this country, and they are wrong.
Yes! Those sentiments were echoed in protests held in other US cities.
We won't go back!
From one of the largest in New York to Los Angeles, Atlanta and Chicago. Many of them rallying under the slogan, "Off Our Bodies." Earlier on Tuesday, it was anti-abortion protests that dominated the area outside the court.
Abortion is violence!
Dozens chanted slogans describing abortion as violence and oppression. While in San Francisco, a man calling himself a pro-life Spider-Man scaled a skyscraper. Abortion is one of the most divisive issues in US politics and has been for nearly half a century. The abortion ruling, due by the end of June, will be the court's biggest since former President Donald Trump succeeded in naming 3 conservative justices to the court.
Anna Law is an associate professor of political science at Brooklyn College in New York and the Howard Kurz Chair in Constitutional Rights, and she joins us now via Zoom from New York City in America. Professor Law, thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So this leaked document, if it is representative of what the Supreme Court will judge, just how significant will a ruling like this be on constitutional rights for American citizens?
This would be an earthquake. Basically, in American politics, with the Supreme Court, we understand that institution is supposed to be different from the Congress and the presidency in that they're supposed to not be doing pure politics, that they are supposed to be bound by legal precedent and what other courts have decided before them. And so if this decision that was leaked turns out to be final, it would throw out the door a 49-year-old precedent in Roe v. Wade and a 30-year-old precedent that the last significant abortion case that was decided. And it would be a sea change because for almost 50 years, women and men across the United States have organized their lives with the belief that abortion was safe and legal, and that would change.
So at the heart of this is politics and not the law.
Yes, even in the United States, the Supreme Court enjoys this reverential status that they apply the law and they don't do politics. But in fact, they are a hybrid institution, like the Toyota Prius, which is half electric and half gasoline. The Supreme Court, especially, is half of a legal institution, and the other half is absolutely political, because the decisions they make affect who gets what, when, and how, which is a classic definition of politics.
Why do you think this is happening now and not before? Is it because Donald Trump was able to put 3 more conservative judges on the Supreme Court bench?
Yes, the short answer is yes, that when we see big shifts in doctrine and departing from 50-year-old and 30-year-old precedent on abortion, it is not because the legal doctrine is some internal apolitical objective system of reasoning and rules. It is because of personnel changes on the court. And as you pointed out, we have 3 new fairly recent justices that were appointed by Donald Trump. And so there was a personnel change, and what followed was a very big change in the law.
So I believe as many as 13 states have already got holding bills that once the Supreme Court ruling comes through, they will overnight come into force, and as many as 36 million people, women in particular, will be prejudiced straight away. Is there anything that the Democrats can do? Because this does seem to be a Democrat versus Republican issue. Can the president do anything?
Is there anything that Democrats can do? Okay, so some people have pointed out, with frustration, that the Democrats, they control the presidency, they control the Senate by a slim margin, and the House. Because the Senate is controlled by the Democrats with such a slim margin, one thing that the president could do is pass a federal law protecting abortion rights nationwide and overriding these state laws, but that would be very difficult given the slim Democratic margin in the Senate. So the president, I'm sure they're working on it, but it's not an easy matter of, well, just pass federal legislation. There's political barriers that are in the way, and also the United States is having midterm elections in November, and these are the off-year elections where the country is not electing a president, but they're electing members of Congress, senators, House of Representatives. And what we know from political science research is traditionally the party that controls the majority party, the Democratic Party, they will lose seats in the midterm election, not gain them. And that will make it very difficult for the Biden administration and the Democrats to do anything if that happens.
I heard it was discussed before that one way to solve this could be to expand the Supreme Court. Could that be something that he can do, but maybe it'll become more obvious why?
It is possible, and it would be easier to expand the Supreme Court than to put mandatory retirement ages on the Supreme Court justices who right now enjoy life tenure. Expansion of the court would be easier because it would not require a constitutional amendment. Expansion of the court, though, would have to be done by legislation, and once again, the president cannot unilaterally do that. The US Constitution has created a system of 3 branches of government sharing power together and checks and balances. So once again, President Biden would be constrained by his slim majority in the Senate, if he can hold on to it in the midterm elections. And also, right now, the Democrats have an advantage in the House, but it's the Senate. That's the margin that's very it's nothing is guaranteed.
All right, so let's just set the playing field. Supreme Court rules to overturn Roe versus Wade. What that means is that each state can decide what it wants to do. But a person, I suppose, can cross a state line and get a legal abortion next door, as it were.
It theoretically is possible, but some of the states have already thought of that, the pro-life states, and they are thinking about criminalizing women who leave the state to get an abortion in another state. And the problem with this is when you ban abortions in some states and not others, it won't hardly affect women who have the financial means to travel to another state to obtain a legal and safe abortion. And it really, really hurts women who don't have the financial resources and support to do that. And also it hurts a group of women. You know, there are times when abortion is medically necessary. Ectopic pregnancy, where you if you don't have an abortion, the mother will die. And in those cases, time is of the essence. And I'm not sure how it would go for even rich women if they cannot quickly get a safe abortion under those medically exigent circumstances.
And safety is the key here. I believe that maternal deaths have been on the rise in the United States, particularly amongst Black women. So again, this has political connotations given the most vulnerable women, a lot in the minority groups, will probably be more vulnerable if Roe versus Wade was to disappear.
That's correct. In the United States, I think in the developed world has the highest rate of death for women, and which is quite inexcusable. And it would hurt hurt poor women. It would hurt Black women, and let's just say that if abortion is made illegal in many states, it's not that abortions will stop, it's that safe abortions and legal abortions will stop. But those abortions will continue in unsafe ways for people who cannot leave the state for whatever reason.
One understands how somebody gets appointed to the Supreme Court. The president of the country nominates you. You essentially have either Republican or Democratic values. But once you're in, you can't get kicked out. So why don't they just do the law and forget the politics?
Because the selection of these justices to be on the court and to be a judge on the federal judiciary, which is a lifetime appointment, the selection process is informed by and shot through with politics. If it was true that judges only applied the law, then we could get anyone. We could get any person with a law degree. But in fact, many of these judges were put on the court, and especially the three former President Trump appointees, they were explicitly chosen because they are known to espouse anti-abortion views. They were placed on the court because of their policy views on that subject, and because they're conservatives. I mean, it is simply not true that anyone qualified based on some sort of objective merit is put on the court. It's the selection process for justices is 100% political.
Is this the kind of law that a citizen could take to a much higher law, the International Court of Justice or something like that, to say, look, the United States are trouncing my human rights? Is this something that could be taken beyond America?
I'm not sure about that. about the possibility of appealing to international tribunals. I do know this about the American context. When the Supreme Court renders a ruling that is deeply unpopular, as this one is going to be, there will be widespread noncompliance. And it sets up these systems where there's going to be workarounds. And so I'm not sure about an international route, but I think that grassroots organizing is going to be very big on this. And building a social movement again.
All right. We know how the electoral system works in America, there's colleges, and that it's not normally the popular vote that guarantees a win. What would you say in terms of the percentage? I don't know if you know, but is it the majority of Americans who believe in Roe versus Wade? In other words, are the Supreme Court supporting a minority view?
I believe that one of the recent polls I saw is 69% of the people in the United States, including conservatives, including Catholics, support upholding, not overturning Roe v. Wade. The public opinion is solidly against not overturning Roe. But it is significant that this ruling is coming from the Supreme Court because this is a branch of government that's very unusual in the American political system, in that because of the life appointment of these justices, it's an undemocratic institution. They do not answer to voters. There is no electoral check on them. They cannot be fired by Congress. They cannot be fired by the president. So the minority of the conservative minority is using a undemocratic branch of government to make policy that is deeply unpopular, that could not pass muster in an election.
All right. So what do you see happening next? I suppose the Supreme Court likely to overturn, and then you say civil unrest and civil non-compliance.
Civil unrest, civil noncompliance, lots of public demonstrations, a new social movement building, and it's going to have to be a lot of grassroots organizing, a lot of protest in the streets, and we're kind of in uncharted territory. I cannot think of a instance in modern politics where a right that was so ingrained in multiple generations now have grown up with abortion being safe and legal, and have it taken away and severely abridged. I'm not sure what to expect.
Professor Anna Law, thank you very, very much indeed. Well, let's wait until, I think, June, early summer, to see what the Supreme Court decides and what happens next. Thanks so much for your time and your insights.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to join you.
Thank you. Good night. That's Professor Anna Law, who's an associate professor of political science at Brooklyn College, New York.